This is my therapy session. It's a big subject. 2 days ago, I didn't have enough energy to film this yesterday. 2 days ago, I reflected back on a situation from years ago, a significant crossroads, a significant event in my life, a significant situation, very significant, to the point that I would have been a different person today. My personality would have been different. And since it happened, which was in 2011, I've reflected back on it a couple of times over the years, like a couple of times literally, and just thought, if I hadn't went that way, oh my goodness, I feel haunted by the fact that I might have went that way. I filmed this entirely in my head on Wednesday, I think it was. I filmed this entirely in my head. Back in 2011, again on the metal gig scene in Sydney, I used to know a woman by the name of Phoena. She was prominent on the Sydney gig scene, and I sorted all this out in my head the other day, and I don't think about it often. However, the other day I decided to dissect it. Phoena, the woman that I might have been with, and I'm very grateful that I am not. Important to be polite about this is that we were not suited to each other, but at the time I thought we were. So in 2010, I don't remember when I met her, but we used to get along quite well, and I've really had to think about the years carefully. It was 2011. There was one particular night that could have changed my life, and I don't know if she contacted me to hang out with her. I think it was more so the fact I was in the city that night, maybe at the Agincourt first, and then maybe Bar Broadway, and saw Phoena, and saw her, and we were conversing, and she had this is so almost haunting of the fact that I might have gone that way. A similar age, and we were talking downstairs that night, and she was telling me these things, and for some reason I decided to be in a really professional listening mode. I just decided that in my head. I thought, I'm going to listen. And we talked for quite a while in the downstairs area up to the left where the windows are. And she was literally this close to me at one point, and her lips were literally probably a millimetre to 2 millimetres away from mine. And I had my head listening like this, but sometimes it comes across like this. Now, if I had decided to take the chance that night, if I had decided to, in the moment, decided to make my move, there is a 90% chance that she would have reciprocated. In fact, she may have been waiting for me to do that, because Phoena, was gorgeous. She's a redhead, intelligent, funny, luscious lips, which at the time I always wanted to kiss. And this particular night I had my chance at Bar Broadway, and in the moment there was I got it in the universe was not allowing me to do so. The universe didn't want me to do this. I mean, she was right here. She'd had a few to drink. She wasn't trashed or anything like that. Coherent. I was coherent. She was being a bit flirtatious. I think in her mind she was waiting for me to make a move, and which I didn't realise at the time. I did regret it later. Like, I regretted it a year later, or 6 months later. after that situation, I was like, oh, I could have made my move. The universe did not want me to. It did not want me to. If I had made my move, she would have reciprocated. I'm very certain of it. I'm very certain that she would have reciprocated, and we would have been together for a minimum amount of time that we would have been together, 4 to 6 weeks maybe, and long term. It could have been 3 or 4 years, depending. Who knows what happens in that time. She wanted to move to Ireland because she expressed this to me at one point. And the thing is, I would have moved there with her. And she, well, the thing, because I was on New Start at the time. I was living at Wicks Avenue at the time, at Marrickville. There was that, and no. I think if I had went with her, the thing is that if I had went with her, I may have only written 1 book of poetry, because I wrote all my poetry when I was a bit disgruntled, when I was single, when I was a bit disgruntled, when I was frustrated, when I was venting pain and love, or I was talking about love, I had a lot of pain, and I think that if I had went with Phoena, I would have put the first book of poetry together. I probably would have spent less time on Facebook. I don't know if there would have been a second book of poetry. I mean, I'm on my 5th book. I've actually been on my 5th book of poetry since 2019. Hadn't been overly committed to it because I've already written 4 volumes. But it just kept coming out of me. So technically, I've been in my 5th book of poetry for about 6 years now. The thing is, and my screenplay would have taken a different direction. I may have made her the lead character, the lead female character in my screenplay. I would have. And thinking back now, it's like, oh, no. But the ideas and the things I'm getting from my screenplay, my feature script, my screenplay now, it would have taken, oh my goodness, scary to think about these things. It would have taken on a different direction upon if I would have went with Phoena. She may have, almost every woman does this. I mean, the majority of women will tend to do this. She may have said to me, you need to get a job soon, like you need to get a job. And she may have put me under pressure for that. And I never liked being put under pressure for that. So there may have been that clash. There may have been that clash. So 1 book of poetry, the screenplay would have been different. From Wicks Avenue, I went to Sydenham. Now, if I had went with Phoena, I don't think I would have. There's a possibility I would have skipped Sydenham and Petersham. Depending on what Phoena's religion was, I may have been influenced by that. But there was something else that happened. About 3 months later, time-wise I don't know when it was, but it wouldn't have been more than 3 months later, because I still remember this happened at Wicks Avenue. There's a guy on the scene. His name is Blake. There's 2 Blakes, but I'm talking about the other Blake with the long black hair, sort of a quieter guy. At the time, we were buddies, but one particular night we weren't, and we stopped being buddies, friends. Somehow, we must have gone from the Broadway area to the townie. We ended up at the townie, Blake, Phoena, and myself, and I think a couple of others. And all I could think about that night, because she was being flirtatious with both of us. And that night we weren't friends, we were competing for Fiona, we were competing for the woman. And when Blake turned up that evening to wherever we were, or wherever it was, I was thinking, oh, you'll leave after 5 minutes and leave us alone. And he was thinking in his mind, oh, you'll leave after 5 minutes and leave us alone. So we're both thinking exactly the same thing. And after 5 minutes he didn't leave, after half an hour he didn't leave, after an hour he didn't leave. And I'm like, oh, you're not leaving, you're staying around. That night we weren't friends. And we got to, I'm thinking I would have said to her, yes, I will move with you to Ireland. I would have done that. My life would be so different now. I wouldn't have written those books of poetry. I wrote them when I was alone and single and frustrated. Very frustrated, single, pain, and the ideas I had for the screenplay, a lot of the new ideas. I mean, geez, I would have had Fiona involved in it. I would have been influenced that way. There's a good chance of that. It's just, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. I wouldn't have figured out, I may not have figured out the universe, the answer to things, answer to everything that were, matrix simulation. I wouldn't have the philosophies and the mindset that I do now, which is a little bit scary to think of. We maintain our general mindset over the years, and we do maintain our personality structure over the years, but our philosophies change, our ideas about things generally change. And how far down the track it wrote, I am 90% certain she would have reciprocated that night. Now, this is the thing, we're at the townie, it's about 2 a.m. For me, it was a disastrous night. At the townie, 2 a.m, Fiona's here, Blake is there, I'm vying for her attention. Blake was being cool and vying for her attention. And in my mind, in my brain, I said, I'm about to tell her that I like her, how I feel, and that's it, I'm going to do it tonight. I have to do it tonight. And in that moment that I was thinking that, I somehow became distracted, and I looked this way for approximately 9 seconds, 9 beats, about that. It wasn't too long. And there were a couple of other people that we knew at the time that were standing next and near to us. And after 9 seconds, it could have been 9 seconds, it could have been 10, it could have been 11 seconds. It wasn't 30 seconds, and maybe it was 15 seconds, but I think it was about 9 or 10 seconds. I turned back around, saying to myself, I'm going to tell her that I like her. I turned around, and Blake and Fiona were kissing, and I was like, oh, flatliner. Oh, what am I looking at? Oh, I was devastated.